everybody, thanks a lot for joining me today. This is going to be kind of a mom and baby related video. I really wanted to do something on the postpartum must-haves and also the newborn must-haves. So now that Mr. Rhett is about 1 month old, a little over a month right now, I thought it'd be a great time to talk about some of these things that have really helped me out and also helped him out during the first month. A couple of the things that I've been taking and continue to take right now are some vitamins here. These are from Pink Stork. I got them on Amazon and they are the Total Postnatal plus DHA and also the Postpartum Reset. And this I thought might be a good idea to take. I saw it at the same time that this was available and it says balances hormones and mood, restores emotional calm, supports postpartum recovery. So I just thought that might be beneficial to me. It's really hard to just sit here and say, yeah, I'm taking some vitamins and they're working great. Like, I'm not really sure. I hope that they are, giving me all of the things that my system needs and requires as I'm breastfeeding and as I'm going through this postpartum period. But I will say I probably have had just the smoothest postpartum time with this pregnancy. Just emotion-wise and my body's recovery, I feel like everything has just gone so well. I'm not putting that all back on these vitamins, but this postpartum reset, it sounds like a good thing to go ahead and take. But I wasn't really expecting my body to bounce back as well and just heal as well as it did, as quickly as it did, and I just really felt like myself very soon after. I remember after having Belle, I felt just a lot more emotion, I feel like, after the baby came. And some of that was just coming to terms with the fact that, I'm going through a monumental life change right now, going from no babies to a baby. And now I think maybe with baby number 3, not only have I had a baby, I've experienced what it's like to have multiple children, and I'm just adding one more to that mix, so maybe it just wasn't as drastic of a feeling to me this time around. But anyway, I've been taking those along with the stool softener, and the stool softener is good because obviously as you have healed down there, you need to make it easy to go. So that's what I've been taking. Also, right after, I would say like the first couple of weeks postpartum, this stuff was really good. This is the Freedom Mom Perineal Healing Foam. It says cooling pain relief. And this is something you actually pump directly on your pad. It's good for any pain or swelling that you've experienced, and it really just feels very soothing. There are a lot of different things on the market that might have this kind of an effect, different sprays and whatnot, but I just thought this was very user-friendly and easy. You put it exactly where it needs to be and then boom, you're good. No weird, sticky, awkward texture about it, so I thought that stuff was great. When it comes to nursing, I had been a big fan of the Lancino Lanolin cream. I mean, I just think that has worked amazing for me over time, but this time around I did pick up something that was just super highly recommended to me in some of my pregnancy vlogs, and it's the Earth Mama Organic Nipple Butter. And this has done really well also. They're both the kind of thing that if it's on your nipple when you're feeding the baby, it's not gonna harm them in any way. But I did notice him kind of grimacing a little bit more when I had used the lanolin in the earliest days, and with this stuff he wasn't giving me any sort of reaction, and I've used quite a bit of it here as you can see, and I just think you do want to be generous with it. I've got a whole video about breastfeeding. It's called Breastfeeding Tips I Learned the Hard Way, and it's on my vlog channel. I'll link to it below, but I do think with whatever you choose to put on there after a feeding session, you want to use a pretty generous amount of it, and you don't need to be worried about that if you're wearing some sort of pad in there. Nursing pads are another must-have. I love the ones from Medela. I feel like they are the softest ones. I don't have any up here to show you right now, but when I was going through major pain with nursing Belle, I feel like those were just the best ones to use, and so that's always what I've purchased ever since. That's not just going to protect your bra or whatever from the nipple butter, but that's going to also absorb any milk that lets down that you may leak out from time to time. And I feel like those are especially important very early on in your breastfeeding journey when you're getting engorged at times, your body's really adjusting to what sort of supply it needs to have. And then as time goes on, things sort of regulate and you don't really see yourself leaking as much milk. At least that's been my experience. But Rhett has done great as far as nursing. I feel like part of that comes from the mom being a little bit more experienced as well. It's really hard when both parties are completely new to this and then you're trying to just make it work. But I feel like he has just done a great job. He's been good with latching. I have had to aid him in getting the best latch because, you know, they're supposed to get their mouth around as much of the nipple area, surrounding area as possible, and you really have to sometimes compress a little bit and really make that easy for them. And that's kind of a whole tip area that I covered in my breastfeeding tips video. And I think even if you have had multiple children, your body still goes through a little adjustment period for about the first 3 weeks or so, where it may be a little bit painful when they latch on, because it truly is just, I think, the skin, the body just getting used to this whole feeling all over again. But that really does pass, and you also shouldn't feel pain throughout the entire nursing session. Another thing that I have absolutely loved for situations where I felt like I was getting engorged, like, you know, when your milk comes in and things are a little haywire in terms of how much your body is producing, or if you feel like maybe you've got a plugged duct, maybe, you know, one side didn't get totally emptied and some time passed and you can feel like sometimes a little bit of a lump or like a nodule or something that needs to get worked out, and that is milk that needs to, you know, flow on through. And the baby is usually best at just going ahead and nursing on that side and clearing whatever that plug might be. But sometimes it's something you notice after they're sleeping and it's like, okay, now's the time where maybe I could pump and just really clear this through. And I have really enjoyed this Medela, just the manual hand pump. I mean, this is how it works, and it's so uncomplicated to put together and to just kind of have at the ready, and you don't feel like you got to really hook something up and get something going that's super loud and obnoxious. I have another pump that's a Avent, I think, electric pump, and it works fine. You know, I don't really have any complaints with it, except for the fact that the convenience factor is totally there with this, and I feel like it does a very effective job. It's also easy to clean, it's not a ton of different parts, and it's pretty inexpensive too. So if you haven't really explored the idea of a hand pump, and maybe you're not one who needs to be pumping on a daily basis, but you just need something on hand for those times when you may be a little engorged, or you suspect maybe you've got a plugged duct, something's feeling kind of sore there, and you just need to really clear and free the boob of the milk. This is a great thing to have. I also have used the Haka as well, and I don't have that up here, but that is just the simplest little thing that you can just squeeze. It's like a silicone little bottle basically, and you just pull that back, it attaches onto you, it suctions onto you, and while you're nursing baby on one side, all that milk that would be letting down on the other side is collecting in the Haka, and that suction effect is continuing to gather and collect milk as you feed. So that's another option if you're trying to really be efficient and productive with your pumping and your milk supply. What other things do I have here for postpartum? One thing to just think about is snacks and having them really readily available for yourself, and thinking about maybe some healthy-ish things that you can have. Nuts are great. I love the Sargento balance breaks, and some people were saying, yeah, you could put that together on your own, and if you have time, sure, go for that. There have been some times where I have taken full advantage of the grocery delivery, and I get those and I just immediately pop them in the fridge, and I know like there's something I can grab for with literally no work, and it fills you up a little bit. It's a healthy snack to have while you're nursing. I did take the time over the past weekend to just go ahead and bag up like little baggies of carrots, baggies of grapes. I got myself some individual little peanut butters and individual ranches, and I can grab some pretzels, or I can grab some of that stuff and have something that takes actually zero prep work. I'm not saying you're gonna live your life with a little baby being unable to like cook something for yourself, but there are times where they literally are wanting to feed constantly and cluster feed and not be laid down and not be content with the place where you think you should be able to lay them down, and you just need to be able to grab something. So it's never a bad idea to have those little snacks available. And clothing wise, I would say some of the things I've gotten the most use out of are my high-waisted underwear from Amazon. I love the ones that I showed in my, I think it might have been my hospital bag video. I bought even more of them. I just love the fit. I love putting those on after having the baby, and I felt kind of like sucked in, but not at all in an uncomfortable way, just in kind of a, okay, things are being held kind of back where they should be sort of way. So I've really really enjoyed those. Nursing tank tops are another brilliant thing. I'm actually wearing one right now, and they are tank tops that they're adjustable here. They kind of look like a bra, but they unclip right there. So you can immediately nurse your baby, and it's very, very simple. You're not fussing with pulling up a top and doing all this and that, and I love wearing them under like little cardigans and hoodies and stuff like this. I just slip the nursing pad directly inside the nursing tank, and everything's held in there just fine. But I have a couple of those from Motherhood Maternity. I've gotten some others over time from Amazon, but the Motherhood ones, I must say, I've had them since Belle, and they've survived so many washings. The straps, everything is held up beautifully, so I would definitely recommend those. Next up, we're going to talk about some newborn must-haves. So both of these phases, the postpartum and the newborn, you know, it's all kind of overlapping, all things you're sort of needing at the same time, and I just rounded up some of the best things that I could think of. I feel like I'm probably going to post this video and think of even more, but let's just get to it here. The first one, this thing called the baby shusher. This is something I remember when I first heard about it, and I thought, well, I can shush the baby. I can go shh, shh, shh. You know, my voice can do that just fine, but no, this is awesome. I think I was in week 2 with a newborn, and I saw multiple people coming across my Instagram feed. It was like I was getting a message from God, like, you need the baby shusher. People were talking about how good it is, and I will say it has been really fantastic at nighttime. As you're transitioning baby from being nursed and you're rocking them to sleep, and now you want to go lay them down in their little bed. It's great to have this on. For some reason, I'm convinced that this makes that transition easier, and they're just kind of like kept from getting back into a wakeful state. Anybody knows who's been through this. It's the worst thing when you're like trying to get that sleeping baby down, and then they catch you just as you're like laying them down, and there's something about the sound of this that keeps them kind of lulled to sleep. So this is what it looks like. You have a little switch up here. Okay, it's that over and over again, and you can control the volume here on the bottom. You can make it louder or softer, and the 2 settings here are for 15 minutes or 30 minutes with an auto shut off. So that's again why this is really nice at nighttime, because you can just get it going for 15 minutes and you don't have to worry about going and turning it back off, and while that's running, you're laying in bed and you're starting to sleep, and it really does lull me to sleep as well, I must say. And we have a white noise thing, and I think that's great, but there is something about this sound to a baby that I think is very relaxing, soothing, calming. So it's working pretty well for us. I haven't yet tried this in the car. He tends to be okay in the car so long as everything's moving, but then we come to a stop and he's like, I gotta cry now. So this might be a good thing to take with us if we're going anywhere. But I was skeptical. I really thought that that was just something like total gimmick, but the more I saw people talking about it and the more I was kind of in the trenches of struggling with needing sleep, I thought I could use that, definitely. Another thing I've really loved this time around that has been new to me that I hadn't used with the other kids is the baby bath that we have, and I think it's called Angel Care. It's in our bathtub right now. It is the greatest little thing to put inside your tub, and you can fill up the water a little ways, and then there's holes all over it, so when you're dumping water down on top of baby, it's just running right through. It's like, we've used little inflatable tubs and different things over time, and this is the most low fuss, easy method of baby bathing, and he absolutely loves it. He has done great in the tub. He is a kid who likes bath time for sure. I love how it keeps him so nicely propped, and like I said, the water's running right through. There is a little bit of a flexibility to the base area that they're laying on, so it's not like hard plastic. It sort of adapts to their body when they lay down in it, but it seems like such a simple thing, but I'd never used anything like it, and I'm convinced it's the best way to bathe a newborn. Here's something great if your child is dealing with some dry skin. This has been something I've used on and off. It's not just a baby benefit, but just young kids in general, or probably an adult too. This Aveeno Baby Eczema Therapy Nighttime Balm. Now you're gonna be in Walmart looking at this and seeing that it's got like a nearly $20 price tag, and you're gonna be like, 20 bucks for Aveeno, what? But this is the most intense, lovely lotion that you can put on, and if they're dealing with this dry, flaky skin, which I noticed a bunch on him, this is absolutely perfect for it. It really is a balm-like texture. I mean, I could do my blizzard test with this. It ain't running out. And I've just really enjoyed this on him. Aveeno does make just a lotion in a tube that's called like eczema therapy, but this is, the difference between that and this, just thickness-wise, moisturization-wise, is huge. I remember Belle having some kind of redness or eczema type irritation on her arm, like actual eczema, and this helped it a lot. With him, I'm using it more as just a dry skin cream, and I think it's so good. It's very common for your newborn to be maybe a little congested. They have very, very small nasal passages, and we've noticed that with him, like sometimes just seeming a little bit stuffy, and what do we do about that? And the saline drops from Little Remedies, a great thing to have on hand. Sometimes this and this alone seems to do the trick for just loosening that up, clearing whatever the issue may have been, and you know, you're moving on with your day or night or whenever. But it's just little drops, and you're just gonna put it in their nostril, and just I just give them one like quick little burp on each side, and they don't love it, and just for a second it irritates them a little bit, but you can really tell that that's clearing some things out. And then sometimes I'll go in if I'm still hearing a lot of like kind of muffled sounds with the breathing, because babies are just breathing out of their nose, so you'll hear if there's sort of that kind of garbled noise of congestion, and if it's sounding muffled still, the nose Frida. I mean, this has probably been talked about in every newborn essentials video, but you're gonna pop this in their nostril. This goes in your mouth. There is a little filter here. Nothing's going up through the tube into your mouth, but the suction that you can provide is going to pull the snot out of their nose, basically. And one tip I would say is when you put this in their nose, it can help to almost massage their itty bitty nose, and even massage the area kind of up under their eyebrows just a little bit, and let that sit for a little while, and then go in and go ahead and suck out whatever you can. It's a wonderful innovation. The combination of these two things I think you definitely want. Oh, along those same lines, if you are noticing that your baby's dealing with a little congestion, a humidifier in the room where they're sleeping is definitely great too. We've just picked up a new one from Walgreens. It's like a small, kind of personal sized one actually, and I just have it sitting on the nightstand that's closest to where he's sleeping. And from the first night I had started that up, it's just a cool mist humidifier. Very, very simple. I've noticed a difference in the congestion issue. Not saying you need that exact one, but just some sort of humidifier might actually be good to just plan to get going just as soon as the baby comes home. I noticed the same thing with Biddy going on as well, and both were, you know, late fall and winter babies, so the dry air might have something to do with that. Oh, also from the Frida brand, the Frida nail clipper. I love that this time around they've got it in this little pouch. It's harder to lose, but what's special about this clipper is that there's actually a little window right here. Can you see that little open gap, little rectangular gap right there? And so when you've got a nail coming in under there, you can actually see it, and you can make sure you're only clipping nail and not skin. So that takes some of the fear as a parent out of the whole nail clipping process, because I've never really liked to do that until I got my hands on this and I realized, okay, that's really not so bad. And it also comes with a little file as well. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but in a past video I mentioned getting just a little collection from Target of the different Frida baby things, and the nose Frida was in there, the nail Frida was in there, and a couple other things, so I'll link that below if I can find it. Another new thing to me for this baby number 3 is the Boppy Lounger. So good. We love this thing. You can just sit it anywhere. I like to pop a little blanket on top of it just in case there might be a spit up issue. I can kind of save the cleanliness of the Boppy Lounger. I can preserve it a little bit better, but you can sit this on a couch, on the floor. It's a great way to kind of get the baby in whatever environment you want them to be in, but they're propped up a little bit. So if reflux is an issue, or you know, you've just fed them recently, you're concerned about spitting up, just laying flat on their back and stuff, it's a nice little transition between nursing and then whatever the next thing they might do. You know, we still lay on blankets on the floor and we do the tummy time stuff, but it's kind of a nice nice little transitional thing. Also, the girls love me to sit him in there because then they can just kind of come up around him and talk to him and interact and stuff. And he just seems very, very comfortable in there. So this was highly recommended to me. When I said I got one, so many people came out of the woodwork saying, you're gonna love that so much, and I totally do. As far as diaper changes go, my favorite wipe are the water wipes. I think they are the most gentle thing. I started using them right off the bat with Eve as well and felt like there was a real absence of diaper rash issues, and they're so wet. So I do feel like they clean up the child actually very effectively and a little bit quicker with a little less rubbing on the skins than some other kinds of wipes. So I love those. Another thing that I recommended on my Instagram recently are these Green Sprouts burp cloths. These are so good. I've got this set, and I had just recently ordered another set. They're really my favorite. They're terry cloth on both sides, but on the inside, what you can't see is that there is a waterproof layer. So baby spits up on you or there's some kind of big gigantic mess, it's not gonna soak through. And so they're great to just throw over the shoulder when you're burping baby, or you just kind of rocking them there and you're worried about maybe a possible spit up. But I also like kind of having it sort of under baby's head and mouth area when they're nursing. And that way, sometimes I think it might just be having a small baby, and sometimes, especially on my left side for whatever reason, I think the milk lets down really quick, and some will kind of ooze out a little bit of his mouth as he's nursing right at the start of the nursing session. And so if I have this kind of underneath, it's catching that milk and it's not soaking through onto my clothes, onto his clothes, or anywhere else. So these are just amazing to have on hand. And I think actually for little boys, they might be really good for diaper changes, you know, to kind of keep over the area so nobody's getting sprayed. That's kind of part of why I bought an extra set. But my friends, I think that's everything. That's everything I could think of as far as the postpartum must-haves for mom, and then the baby newborn must-haves. If you have anything else to recommend or suggest, please put it in the comments section below. I'll really be paying attention to any questions you have for me there. If there's anything I can help you out with or clear up a little bit, just let me know. I'll do what I can. But personally, I love these kinds of videos because there's always something that someone else has turned up where you're like, oh, that would be really useful. So these are just those things that I am most enthusiastic about. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.